In the heart of modern-day Iraq, archaeologists recently uncovered clay tablets that would reshape our understanding of humanity's oldest stories. These ancient texts, carefully preserved for over 3 millennia, contain narratives that bear striking similarities to the biblical creation accounts we know today. As scholars meticulously translate these cuneiform inscriptions, they reveal a profound connection between Mesopotamian myths and the Book of Genesis. This discovery challenges our traditional understanding of biblical origins, while enriching our appreciation for the sophisticated literary and theological developments of the ancient Near East. The implications of these findings extend far beyond academic circles. Religious leaders, historians, and believers worldwide are now engaging in thoughtful dialogue about how these ancient connections deepen our understanding of sacred texts. These discussions reveal how ancient peoples grappled with fundamental questions about human existence, divine purpose, and moral responsibility. Through careful analysis of linguistic patterns, shared motifs, and parallel narratives, we uncover a rich tapestry of cultural exchange that shaped the foundation of Western religious thought. This journey into our shared past not only illuminates the origins of biblical narratives, but also demonstrates the remarkable sophistication of ancient civilizations in addressing humanity's deepest questions. The chronological relationship between Mesopotamian and biblical texts provides crucial context for understanding their connections. While the Hebrew Bible's earliest texts date to approximately the 10th century BCE, the Mesopotamian clay tablets that contain parallel creation narratives were inscribed over a millennium earlier. These ancient texts emerged from sophisticated urban civilizations in modern-day Iraq, where scribes meticulously recorded their cultural and religious traditions. The city-states of Uruk, and Babylon served as centers of literary and religious development, producing works that would influence the entire region. Archaeological excavations have revealed libraries containing thousands of clay tablets, preserved through millennia. The discovery of the Epic of Gilgamesh tablets in the ruins of Nineveh's royal library marked a turning point in our understanding of ancient literary traditions. Similarly, findings at sites like Nippur have yielded crucial texts that illuminate the development of creation narratives. This historical framework allows us to trace the evolution of these foundational stories across cultures and centuries. The careful preservation and transmission of these texts demonstrate the ancient world's sophisticated approaches to addressing fundamental questions about existence and divine purpose. Current scholarly consensus regarding the relationship between Mesopotamian and biblical texts rests on extensive philological and archaeological evidence. Leading researchers in Assyriology and biblical studies have established clear methodological approaches for analyzing these ancient connections. The comparative study of these texts involves careful examination of linguistic patterns, shared vocabulary, and parallel narrative structures. Scholars focus on identifying cognate terms between Akkadian and Hebrew, analyzing literary devices common to both traditions, and understanding the cultural contexts that shaped these narratives. Documentation of these relationships follows rigorous academic standards. Researchers examine primary sources in their original languages, considering variations in different manuscript traditions. This approach allows for precise identification of shared elements while acknowledging the unique aspects of each tradition. Modern scholarly work in this field builds upon decades of archaeological discoveries and textual analysis. The academic framework emphasizes the importance of understanding these texts within their historical contexts while recognizing their ongoing significance in religious and cultural traditions. This methodological foundation ensures that conclusions about textual relationships are based on verifiable evidence rather than speculation, providing a solid basis for understanding the development of these foundational narratives. The chronological development of ancient Near Eastern texts spans several millennia, with Mesopotamian civilizations establishing sophisticated literary traditions as early as the 3rd millennium BCE. This timeline provides essential context for understanding the evolution of creation narratives. The earliest relevant Mesopotamian texts emerge from Sumerian civilization, with literary works appearing around 2600 BCE. These include creation myths and flood narratives preserved on clay tablets in major urban centers. The Sumerian period established fundamental narrative patterns that would influence later traditions. By the mid-2nd millennium BCE, Akkadian literature flourished throughout Mesopotamia. The Enuma Elish, a primary creation epic, reached its canonical form during this period. This text, discovered in the library of Ashurbanipal at Nineveh, demonstrates the sophisticated theological and literary development of Mesopotamian traditions. The Hebrew texts, including the earliest versions of Genesis, emerged significantly later. Scholarly consensus places their written composition around the 10th century BCE, though they likely incorporated earlier oral traditions. This chronological gap between Mesopotamian and Hebrew texts is crucial for understanding their relationship. Archaeological evidence supports this timeline through stratified findings at major sites. Tablets containing creation narratives have been discovered in clearly dated contexts, allowing scholars to trace the development of these stories through time. The physical evidence aligns with linguistic analysis of the texts themselves. This chronological framework demonstrates the clear precedence of Mesopotamian narratives. The sophisticated literary traditions of Sumer and Akkad provided a rich cultural context from which later Hebrew texts would emerge. Understanding this sequence helps explain the shared elements between these traditions while highlighting their unique developments. Ancient Near Eastern societies developed sophisticated religious and cultural systems that shaped their understanding of creation and divine order. The urban centers of Mesopotamia fostered complex theological traditions maintained by dedicated temple communities. In Mesopotamian cities, temples served as centers of religious, economic, and intellectual life. Professional scribes, working in temple complexes, preserved and transmitted sacred texts through careful copying and study. These scribal traditions ensured the preservation of creation narratives and other religious texts across generations. Religious practices in these societies were intimately connected with daily life. The creation stories weren't merely theological abstractions, but explained the structure of society and humanity's relationship with divine powers. Temple rituals reenacted creation narratives, reinforcing their cultural significance. The development of writing systems played a crucial role in preserving these traditions. Cuneiform script, impressed on clay tablets, provided a durable medium for recording religious texts. Scribal schools maintained high standards of textual transmission, ensuring accuracy across centuries of copying. Cultural exchange between different regions of the ancient Near East was extensive. Trade routes and diplomatic connections facilitated the sharing of religious ideas and literary traditions. This interconnectedness helps explain the presence of shared narrative elements across different cultures. Hebrew society emerged within this broader cultural context. While developing its distinctive monotheistic tradition, it drew upon the sophisticated literary and theological traditions already present in the region. The adaptation and transformation of existing narrative patterns reflect the dynamic nature of cultural development in the ancient Near East. The rediscovery of ancient Mesopotamian texts began in the 19th century with systematic archaeological excavations in Iraq and Syria. The British Museum's excavations at Nineveh yielded thousands of clay tablets, including pivotal texts that would transform our understanding of biblical origins. Major breakthroughs occurred when scholars deciphered cuneiform script, opening access to vast libraries of ancient literature. The discovery of the Gilgamesh epic tablets in 1853 revealed striking parallels with biblical narratives, sparking intense scholarly interest in these connections. Excavations at sites like Nippur and Ur throughout the 20th century continued to uncover crucial texts. The discovery of the Enuma Elish tablets provided direct evidence of creation narratives predating biblical accounts. Similarly, findings at Mari and Ugarit expanded our understanding of ancient Near Eastern literary traditions. Recent archaeological work continues to enhance our knowledge through careful stratigraphic excavation and preservation of textual materials. These discoveries have refined chronological understanding and revealed new details about the transmission of religious and literary traditions across the ancient Near East. The first chapter of Genesis presents a structured account of creation that demonstrates sophisticated literary composition and theological development. Close examination reveals significant parallels with earlier Mesopotamian creation narratives, particularly the Enuma Elish. The opening phrase of Genesis, traditionally translated as, "in the beginning," carries complex linguistic implications. The Hebrew construction bears similarity to temporal clauses found in Mesopotamian creation accounts. This parallel suggests conscious adaptation of established literary conventions rather than mere coincidence. Genesis 1 presents creation as an ordered sequence of divine acts, each marked by the phrase, "and God said." This literary pattern reflects careful composition aimed at conveying theological meaning. The text emphasizes divine authority through command and execution, a theme also present in Mesopotamian accounts but reimagined in a monotheistic context. The reference to the deep Tehom in Genesis 1:2 provides a crucial linguistic connection to Mesopotamian traditions. This term shares etymology with the Akkadian Tiamat, the primordial sea goddess in the Enuma Elish. However, Genesis deliberately depersonalizes this concept, transforming mythological elements into natural phenomena under divine control. The creation sequence in Genesis 1 demonstrates both similarities to and significant departures from Mesopotamian patterns. While maintaining familiar literary structures, it presents a radical theological vision of a single deity, creating through spoken command rather than through conflict with other divine beings. The text's treatment of celestial bodies offers another notable point of comparison. While Mesopotamian accounts present sun, moon, and stars as deities, Genesis reduces them to created objects serving specific functions. This represents a clear theological polemic against polytheistic understandings while retaining familiar narrative elements. The culmination of creation with humanity's formation presents perhaps the most significant theological innovation. While maintaining the ancient Near Eastern concept of humans as divine image-bearers, Genesis universalizes this status to all humanity rather than restricting it to royalty as in Mesopotamian traditions. This careful analysis reveals Genesis 1 as a sophisticated text that engages with established literary traditions while advancing distinct theological perspectives. Its authors demonstrated both familiarity with and intentional transformation of older narrative patterns. The second creation account in Genesis presents a markedly different narrative style and sequence from Genesis 1. This distinct account focuses on humanity's creation and early experiences, incorporating elements that resonate with various Mesopotamian literary traditions. The narrative begins with a description of conditions before the creation of humanity, employing literary conventions common in ancient Near Eastern texts. The absence of rain and human cultivation sets a scene familiar to audiences of the time, though the theological implications differ significantly from polytheistic accounts. The creation of the first human from earth and divine breath demonstrates important parallels with Mesopotamian anthropogony. While maintaining similar creative elements, Genesis presents this act as an intimate divine-human interaction rather than the utilitarian creation seen in texts like Atrahasis, where humans are made to serve divine needs. The garden narrative introduces themes of divine testing and human responsibility that transform familiar literary motifs. The presence of special trees and a tempting serpent echoes elements found in various Mesopotamian tales, particularly in the Epic of Gilgamesh, though Genesis repurposes these elements to explore moral and theological themes. The creation of woman presents a unique narrative element that diverges from Mesopotamian parallels. While maintaining the theme of divine creation, the account emphasizes human companionship and partnership, rather than focusing on procreation or divine service. This represents a significant theological innovation in understanding human relationships and purpose. The fall narrative introduces consequences that reflect both similarities to and departures from Mesopotamian traditions. The loss of immortality opportunity echoes themes found in the Gilgamesh epic, while the emphasis on moral responsibility and divine-human relationship presents distinctive theological perspectives. The expulsion from the garden transforms common ancient Near Eastern themes of human limitation and divine boundaries. While maintaining familiar narrative elements, Genesis presents these limitations as consequences of moral choices rather than inherent human restrictions. This analysis reveals Genesis 2-3 as a sophisticated narrative that engages with established literary traditions while presenting distinctive theological perspectives on human nature, divine human relationships, and moral responsibility. A systematic comparison between Genesis and Mesopotamian creation accounts reveals significant patterns of shared elements and distinctive developments. The textual relationships demonstrate both literary dependence and theological innovation. The Enuma Elish provides the most substantial parallels with Genesis 1. Both texts begin by describing initial conditions before creation, using similar literary structures to establish their narratives. The Hebrew text, however, transforms the chaotic divine conflict of Mesopotamian accounts into an ordered sequence of divine commands. Linguistic evidence strengthens these connections through shared vocabulary and parallel phrases. The Hebrew term Tehom and Akkadian Tiamat derive from common Semitic roots, indicating shared cultural heritage rather than direct borrowing. Similar patterns appear in descriptions of the firmament, celestial bodies, and the creation of humanity. The Atrahasis epic offers important parallels with aspects of both Genesis accounts. Its description of humanity's creation from earth, mixed with divine substance, finds echoes in Genesis 2, though the biblical account emphasizes divine intimacy rather than divine utility. The flood narratives in both traditions demonstrate particularly close literary relationships. The Gilgamesh epic provides crucial parallels with Genesis 2-3, particularly regarding themes of wisdom, immortality, and human limitations. Both texts feature serpents that interfere with human immortality opportunities, though Genesis transforms this motif into a moral narrative about divine-human relationships. These comparative elements demonstrate sophisticated literary adaptation rather than simple borrowing. The biblical authors show careful engagement with existing traditions while advancing distinctive theological perspectives. This process reflects the broader pattern of cultural exchange and development in the ancient Near East. The unique elements in Genesis become clearer through such comparison. Its monotheistic framework, emphasis on human moral responsibility, and understanding of divine-human relationships represent significant theological innovations, even while utilizing familiar literary forms and motifs. This comparative analysis reveals Genesis as a sophisticated text that engages intentionally with its cultural context while presenting transformative theological perspectives. The creation of humanity represents a central theme in both biblical and Mesopotamian narratives, with each tradition offering distinct perspectives on human origins and purpose. The accounts reveal sophisticated theological reflection on human nature and divine-human relationships. Mesopotamian texts present humanity's creation as a solution to divine labor requirements. In the Atrahasis epic, the gods create humans to perform necessary work, relieving lesser deities of their burdens. This pragmatic creation account emphasizes humanity's role as divine servants, created through a mixture of clay and divine substance. Genesis transforms this creation motif significantly. While maintaining the element of formation from earth, the biblical account presents human creation as the culmination of divine creative activity. The intimate act of divine breath animation in Genesis 2 establishes a unique relationship between creator and created, emphasizing human dignity rather than utility. The concept of divine image-bearing particularly distinguishes the biblical account. While Mesopotamian traditions restricted divine imagery to royalty, Genesis democratizes this status to all humanity. This theological innovation carries profound implications for understanding human worth and responsibility. The purpose assigned to humanity also differs markedly between traditions. Mesopotamian accounts emphasize service to the gods through temple maintenance and sacrifice. Genesis, while maintaining themes of human responsibility, presents cultivation and stewardship of creation as noble tasks rather than burdensome labor. The creation of gendered humanity receives distinct treatment in these traditions. Mesopotamian accounts typically present this as a practical consideration for reproduction. Genesis, particularly in its second account, emphasizes companionship and partnership, suggesting deeper reflection on human social nature. These varying perspectives on human creation reveal different understandings of divine-human relationships. Mesopotamian accounts maintain clear hierarchical distinctions, while Genesis suggests more intimate divine-human interaction while preserving appropriate theological boundaries. This comparative analysis demonstrates how the biblical authors transformed existing creation motifs to present distinctive theological perspectives on human nature, purpose, and relationship with the divine. Paradise narratives in ancient Near Eastern literature reveal sophisticated reflections on human potential and limitations. The Genesis account of Eden shares important motifs with Mesopotamian traditions while developing distinct theological perspectives. The garden setting carries significant symbolic weight in these traditions. Mesopotamian accounts often present gardens as divine dwelling places, with humans serving as gardeners for the gods. Genesis adapts this motif, presenting the garden as a space of divine-human interaction where cultivation becomes a dignified responsibility rather than mere service. The theme of special plants appears consistently across these traditions. The Gilgamesh epic features a plant of rejuvenation, while Genesis presents trees of life and knowledge. Both traditions explore human limitations regarding access to divine privileges. Though Genesis frames these limitations within moral rather than merely ontological terms, the presence of serpentine figures provides another significant parallel. In Gilgamesh, a serpent deprives the hero of rejuvenation by stealing the special plant. Genesis transforms this motif into a moral narrative, with the serpent becoming an agent of temptation rather than merely preventing access to divine benefits. The concept of human limitations receives distinct treatment across these traditions. Mesopotamian accounts generally present human mortality as an inherent condition, while Genesis suggests it results from moral choices. This transformation reflects deeper theological reflection on human responsibility and divine justice. Paradise Lost narratives demonstrate particularly close connections. Both traditions present scenarios where humans lose opportunities for special divine benefits. However, Genesis uniquely frames this loss within a moral context, emphasizing human choice and responsibility rather than fate or divine caprice. These paradise accounts reveal different understandings of divine-human relationships. Mesopotamian traditions maintain strict boundaries between divine and human spheres, while Genesis presents more complex interactions while preserving appropriate theological distinctions. The relationship between Mesopotamian and biblical creation narratives carries significant theological implications for understanding religious development in the ancient Near East. These connections illuminate how theological ideas evolved while maintaining distinctive religious perspectives. The biblical transformation of polytheistic narratives into monotheistic accounts represents a fundamental theological development. Genesis maintains familiar literary patterns while presenting a radically different understanding of divine nature and activity. This adaptation demonstrates sophisticated theological reflection rather than simple literary borrowing. The treatment of divine-human relationships reveals significant theological innovation. While Mesopotamian accounts present humans primarily as divine servants, Genesis develops a more nuanced understanding of human purpose and dignity. This shift reflects deeper theological reflection on human nature and divine intention in creation. The moral framework presented in Genesis particularly distinguishes it from Mesopotamian predecessors. By framing human limitations within moral, rather than merely ontological terms, the biblical account develops a distinctive theological anthropology. This understanding of human moral responsibility continues to influence religious thought. The universal application of divine image-bearing in Genesis represents another crucial theological development. By extending this status beyond royalty to all humanity, the biblical account presents a democratized understanding of human dignity and divine relationship that diverges significantly from Mesopotamian hierarchical concepts. These theological developments demonstrate careful engagement with existing religious traditions while advancing distinctive perspectives. The biblical authors show sophisticated ability to utilize familiar narrative patterns while transforming their theological implications. This understanding of theological development helps explain both continuity and innovation in religious thought. Rather than viewing biblical accounts as either entirely derivative or completely original, we can appreciate how they engage thoughtfully with their cultural context while presenting transformative theological perspectives. Understanding the relationship between ancient Near Eastern texts and biblical narratives holds significant value for modern educational, cultural, and interfaith contexts. This knowledge enhances our appreciation of religious literature while fostering deeper cultural understanding. Educational institutions increasingly recognize the importance of teaching these ancient connections. Universities and seminaries now incorporate comparative studies of Near Eastern literature into their curricula, enabling students to understand religious texts within their historical contexts. This approach enhances critical thinking while maintaining respect for religious traditions. The study of these textual relationships provides valuable insights for cultural understanding. Recognition of shared narrative patterns across ancient cultures demonstrates the interconnected nature of human religious and literary development. This understanding fosters appreciation for both common heritage and distinctive developments within different traditions. These studies contribute significantly to interfaith dialogue. Understanding how religious texts developed through engagement with broader cultural traditions helps facilitate respectful discussions across faith communities. This knowledge enables recognition of both shared heritage and distinctive religious perspectives. Professional biblical scholars and religious educators use these insights to enhance understanding of sacred texts. Knowledge of ancient Near Eastern parallels illuminates the sophisticated nature of biblical composition, while highlighting its distinctive theological contributions. This understanding enriches both academic study and religious instruction. Cultural heritage institutions benefit from this knowledge in presenting ancient artifacts and texts. Museums and educational centers can better explain the significance of archaeological discoveries by demonstrating their connection to multiple religious and cultural traditions. This approach enhances public understanding of shared cultural heritage. Ongoing research into ancient Near Eastern texts continues to enhance our understanding of religious and cultural development. Archaeological excavations at sites throughout the Middle East regularly uncover new texts that further illuminate the relationships between ancient literary traditions. The preservation and study of these ancient materials remain crucial priorities. Conservation efforts focus on protecting existing collections, while new archaeological discoveries continue to emerge. Digital preservation technologies enable broader access to these materials while ensuring their long-term survival for future study. Understanding the development of religious texts through cultural interaction holds important implications for religious studies. This knowledge helps explain how sophisticated theological ideas emerged through engagement with broader cultural traditions. Such understanding enriches both academic study and religious reflection. The study of ancient textual relationships continues to evolve as new evidence emerges. Scholars regularly refine their understanding of how religious ideas developed and spread throughout the ancient Near East. This ongoing research enhances our appreciation of both shared heritage and distinctive religious developments. These studies contribute to our understanding of how religious traditions develop and adapt over time. Recognition of how ancient texts engage with their cultural contexts while maintaining distinctive perspectives helps explain similar processes in other historical periods and religious traditions. The implications of this research extend beyond purely academic interests to influence how religious communities understand their own traditions. This knowledge enables appreciation of both historical development and distinctive religious perspectives while maintaining respect for theological significance. Individual engagement with ancient Near Eastern texts and their relationship to biblical narratives often produces profound personal insights. Religious leaders, scholars, and believers regularly report how this knowledge deepens their understanding of religious traditions while maintaining their spiritual commitments. Religious educators have found that understanding these textual relationships enhances their ability to teach sacred texts effectively. This knowledge enables them to address questions about biblical origins while demonstrating the sophisticated nature of religious literature. Their experience shows how historical understanding can enrich rather than diminish religious appreciation. Scholars working in this field consistently report how comparative study enhances their appreciation for both shared heritage and distinctive religious perspectives. Their personal experiences demonstrate how academic knowledge can complement religious understanding. Community leaders have found this knowledge valuable for fostering interfaith dialogue and cultural understanding. Recognition of shared literary heritage often facilitates meaningful discussions across religious traditions while maintaining respect for distinctive beliefs. This understanding continues to influence how individuals and communities engage with religious texts and traditions, demonstrating the ongoing relevance of ancient Near Eastern studies for modern religious life. The examination of relationships between Mesopotamian and biblical creation narratives reveals significant patterns of literary and theological development in the ancient Near East. Archaeological and textual evidence demonstrates clear chronological precedents of Mesopotamian traditions, with biblical texts emerging within this established cultural context. Analysis of Genesis 1 and 2-3 shows sophisticated engagement with existing literary traditions while presenting distinctive theological perspectives. The biblical authors demonstrate careful adaptation of familiar narrative patterns and motifs, transforming polytheistic accounts into monotheistic theological statements. Comparative study reveals both shared elements and significant innovations. While maintaining common literary structures and motifs, biblical accounts present distinctive understandings of divine nature, human purpose, and moral responsibility. This transformation demonstrates sophisticated theological reflection rather than simple literary borrowing. The examination of specific themes, including human creation and paradise narratives, shows how biblical authors engaged thoughtfully with their cultural context while advancing unique theological perspectives. This process reflects broader patterns of religious development in the ancient Near East. These findings enhance our understanding of both ancient literary relationships and religious development, demonstrating the sophisticated nature of biblical composition within its historical context. Research into ancient Near Eastern textual relationships continues to evolve through ongoing archaeological work and textual analysis. Future excavations at sites throughout the Middle East promise to yield additional materials that will further illuminate the development of religious literature in the ancient world. Scholarly understanding of these relationships continues to develop as new evidence emerges. Refined analytical methods and comprehensive textual studies enhance our appreciation of how religious ideas developed and spread throughout the ancient Near East. This research contributes to broader understanding of religious and cultural development. The preservation of ancient materials remains a crucial priority for future study. Conservation efforts focus on protecting existing collections while ensuring their accessibility for ongoing research. These efforts maintain these invaluable resources for future generations of scholars and students. The study of ancient Near Eastern texts continues to influence religious and cultural understanding. This knowledge informs both academic research and religious education, enhancing appreciation for both shared heritage and distinctive traditions. Understanding these relationships remains valuable for modern religious and cultural dialogue. These ongoing developments promise to further enhance our understanding of ancient literary relationships and their significance for religious and cultural history. We trust this exploration of ancient creation narratives has provided valuable insights into our shared cultural heritage. Your engagement with this content helps support our ongoing research and educational efforts in understanding these foundational texts. Please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. What aspects of these ancient connections resonated most with you? How has this knowledge enhanced your understanding of religious and cultural development? If you found this content valuable, please consider subscribing to our channel for more in-depth explorations of ancient texts and their modern significance. Your subscription enables us to continue producing high-quality educational content. Share this video with friends, family, and colleagues who might appreciate these insights into ancient literary traditions. By spreading this knowledge, you help foster broader cultural understanding and meaningful dialogue. Your support through likes and shares helps us reach wider audiences and continue our mission of illuminating these important historical connections. Thank you for being part of this intellectual journey.